Bradley Beal reportedly is open to a trade away from Phoenix, even though he prefers to stay in Phoenix. We'll talk a little bit about that. And the New York Knicks reach out to Dawn Staley about their head coaching position. We're going to talk about all that, plus a couple of more news items and more right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of NBA Central, your number one spot for everything basketball related. I'm the host there, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at NBA Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today. This one comes from Fred Katz of The Athletic, in which he said a league source familiar with Beal said that his preference is to stay with the Suns, although he would be open to the right trade that sends him to the right destination. This is the most that we've heard in a while that Bradley Beal could be potentially up for a trade away from Phoenix. He does hold a no-trade clause. Him and LeBron James, I believe, are the only two players in the league with no-trade clauses in their deal. But the league sources go on to say this. Certainly, winning situations are spectacular organizations would appeal to Beal. He does not want to leave his family or upend their lives. And, you know, that's a concept and a perspective on this that I think with all the talks and everything that we overlook, is the family aspect of it. Kevin Durant himself also said, that he didn't want to be traded in the middle of the season. That's last season. Now he ends up getting traded in the offseason. But these men do have families. There are families involved. It's not just as simple as a player packing up and moving. I know we like to think that with them getting paid millions of dollars, but there's a family aspect to be done in that. And Bradley Beal spent the entirety of his career in Washington before being traded to Phoenix. It's not like he's a player that's used to moving around a lot. He's used to being in one spot for a considerable amount of time and may value that with his family. Now, with Bradley Beal and the situation that's going on in Phoenix, I do think it is, they're clearly moving into a different direction. And him being open and willing to trade in the right scenario is, I think, fair for both sides. He has a no trade clause. It's not wrong for him to use that no trade clause to his ability if that he was given it, that he was able to negotiate that into his contract. So, we'll see what happens. The Phoenix Suns acquired Bradley Beal prior to the 2023-24 season, and then hoped that they were going to form a core with him, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker that could win a championship. It's come crashing down after that. Injuries have been a big part of Bradley Beal. He played 53 games each of the last two seasons. His production has also dipped off a little bit. And keep in mind, he's owed $110 million roughly over his next two seasons. So a team that's willing to trade for Bradley Beal, I don't know what place that team would be on, if it's more of a salary dump, things like that. But, the large amount of money that's included in Bradley Beal and the fact that he has a no trade clause, like I said, I don't blame Bradley Beal for using the power that's there. We're coming out of the player empowerment movement, which is still a little bit around for sure, but I think we're starting to see some changes there. But we'll see what happens. It's going to be very difficult for the Phoenix Suns to just waive Bradley Beal. They can waive and stretch him technically. There's nothing that the Players Association or anyone else could do to stop that if that's what the Phoenix Suns tend to do. But that would be $20 million each of the next 2 years that they're going to have to dish out to do that. They could try to buy him out, but Bradley Beal, with having a no trade clause, has no real reason to give up the leverage that he has, and he could get the most back on a buyout. If that second year was more of a team option, the team would have some leverage on a buyout. Right now, they don't. So it seems like right now, the most likely scenario is that it's going to be that Bradley Beal is going to stay with the Phoenix Suns unless he waives the no trade clause. Now, then it'll be up to the Phoenix Suns to find the right team that Bradley Beal would be willing to go to. And I'm sure Bradley Beal will have a list of teams that he'd be interested in if that ends up being the case. And we'll see what happens with that one. We'll see how this ends up shaking out. I don't know if this ends up being something that actually happens, but we shall see. Let me know what you guys think down below. Do the Phoenix Suns end up finding the right trade destination for Bradley Beal, or do you think he ends up likely staying with the Phoenix Suns and staying in Phoenix? But with that said, let's move on. This one comes from Knicks Fan TV. Shout out to the CP, the franchise there, who I've done some shows with before as well over on Bull Central. He released that the Knicks have reportedly reached out to Dawn Staley for the vacant head coaching position. Now, this is something that is completely unexpected. And I'm not one of those people who think that because a women's coach can't come over and help and coach a men's team. I'm not that. I'm a huge WNBA fan. I watch a lot of women's hoops also in college, so I don't have anything against that. It's just unexpected because you didn't expect to hear that. You don't expect to hear Dawn Staley's name involved in anything to do with the New York Knicks head coaching role. But reportedly, they have reached out. Now, we don't know if official offer was made. We don't even know how far those talks could be. For all we know, the Knicks could have called and said, hey, Dawn, would you be interested in coaching the Knicks? Dawn could have said, hell no, hell fucking no, I'm good. He could have said, all right, thank you, Dawn, for taking the call, and hung up, and it could have moved on, and that be the end-all, be-all, right? So we'll end up seeing what happens when it comes down to that. But Dawn Staley is a decorated coach, and you can't take away from her and what she's been able to do with South Carolina and her coaching career. She's been great when it comes down to it. And if you did look at her and want to move on from her as the or bring her in as a head coach of an NBA team, yeah, there are going to be people that have their issues and problems. But listen, she's had an 81% win percentage as the head coach of South Carolina. Overall, in her coaching career, she has a 77 win percentage as a head coach. You just can't take away from that. She has a 79% win percentage in the postseason. You can't take away from what Dawn Staley has done. Now, I will say, coaching in the NBA is a lot different than coaching in college in general. You don't recruit. You don't have the same ability to get players in. So it is a big curve there. But this is something completely unexpected to hear from the New York Knicks in their coaching search. But the New York Knicks are trying to find the best coach for them. And I do commend them for looking outside the box when it's all said and done. I can't wait till Becky Hammon gets an opportunity as well. But I think when it all said and done, the Knicks are just trying to find somebody to bring something to their team. They don't look like they're going to be making wholesale changes to their roster. So that means that the changes that they're looking for are going to be a coach that can come in and better coach this team up. And we'll see what happens there. But again, just a name that I did not expect by any means necessary is to hear Dawn Staley and the New York Knicks reaching out. I did not have that on my bingo card, but we'll see what happens with that going forward. All right, let's get into some news items. Davion Mitchell signed a new 2-year, $24 million contract with the Miami Heat to stay there. He was set to become a restricted free agent on July 1st. They voided the restricted free agency. He played 30 games with 15 starts for Miami Heat. He had a big playoff game there as well. At 6'2", he averaged 10 points, 2.7 rebounds, 5.3 assists in 31 minutes for the Miami Heat last season. He shot 50% from the field, 45% from three, taking 3 3-pointers per game. Davion Mitchell is a player that really kind of stood up. He feels like a Miami Heat type player, so I'm glad that he stayed there, and he gets paid $12 million per annual average value on that salary. So shout out to Davion Mitchell for getting his money. The Miami Heat, who's still reportedly looking to make a trade to kind of make their roster make more sense. They're still in search for a point guard as well. We'll see what they find there. But Davion Mitchell, I'm glad that he's staying in Miami. I think he can do big things in Miami. And then Sam Merrill, fresh off the New York Knicks, trading for Lonzo Ball, trading Isaac Okoro for Lonzo Ball, straight up, no draft compensation, nothing else involved. They signed Sam Merrill to a $38 million contract to stay, a 4-year, $38 million contract to stay in Cleveland. And Cleveland's gearing in for a run. They see the East is wide open, and I do think they're going to keep their team relatively the same. I know we heard that they reportedly offered Darius Garland for Kevin Durant, but other than that, I think they're going to keep this team the same heading into this year. And they have a great opportunity to make it to finals. Now, can they get over the OKC Thunder? That's a question and a story for another day. But I think with adding Lonzo Ball to this team, re-signing Sam Merrill, they still have all their depth that they had there as well. This is going to be a team that is going to be really decent. I think with the Lonzo Ball acquisition as well, it allows them to have a player that his on-off numbers were great. The question just is how much Lonzo Ball can stay on the court. The Cavs are in a position of luxury. They're a championship contender without Lonzo Ball, so they can manage his injuries over the course of the season and try to make sure that he's healthy by the playoffs. If Lonzo's ready to go by the playoffs, he's going to help that team a huge amount in what he's able to do in his role. So look out for the Cleveland Cavaliers and what they're continuing to do this season with their moves and this offseason with their moves, and they're gearing up to really try to make a run for it in the NBA season next year. And they're trying to, finally get over that hump, hopefully not have a disappointing postseason again to where they just don't make it out very far at all. So can the Cavs do something special here? That's the question here. Are they making the right type of moves to get themselves in a position to win the title or at least make it out the East? Let me know what you guys think on that down below. I love the Lonzo acquisition for them, and I love the fact that it seems like as of right now, they're keeping their team relatively the same. But you guys, as always, can let me know and sound off on how you feel about all that down below. That's my time for today, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in real quick. Make sure you guys are following us at NBA Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, NBA Central Show at gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the number one spot for everything basketball related. And I'll see you guys the next time I feel like making a video. Probably today. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.